So what I'm holding in my hands is a fresh bunch of Azov. Azov is a type of herb that can be found in Israel. It's very common. It's also called za'atar. Za'atar is actually the Israeli mix of Arabic mix that has a lot of those leaves of za'atar, azov, and also it's a very, very close relative of the oregano, which is well known all over the world, but I'm not sure it's grown so much all over the world. So I'll put it aside for now, but if you have it in your garden, this is the time to go out and get some fresh leaves. And today we will talk about extracting. So extraction is a concept we know very well from colonialism and capitalism. It is when humans go out to nature treasures. Those are treasures that we go out and take them, and once we take them, we call them resources. So even people became human resources, right? It's resources. So as if it was there just to serve us, just so that we can come and extract those resources. This culture got a name recently, or the action got a name, which is extractivism, and the culture is the extractivist culture. So I want to tell a different story. I want to tell the story of that was life once upon a time on planet Earth. There were women, very wise women, who were called witches in some cultures, and others call them shamans, or just the wise woman. I guess there were different names in different cultures. But those women, and probably also some men, but when we say witches, we usually think about women, it definitely holds this feminine energy that on one hand is the healing and the nurturing energy of planet Earth itself. And on the other, for some reason, at some point in history, it received a lot of rejection, a lot of violence. And those women really held precious knowledge about how to extract the medicine and the blessings from the elements of life without hurting and without destroying the elements. I'm sure those witches didn't call them resources. They probably had a much more sacred sense that saw everything as sacred. And so I'm imagining, and also not only imagining, I'm actually practicing it, but don't tell anybody, it's a secret. To talk to plants. They were talking to the plants that they were taking leaves or branches or flowers or roots, and asking for their wisdom, asking for their guidance. And they had a very, very, it passed from generation to generation, this wisdom, so it was very, very rich. It's not only about naming and identifying one ingredient, or naming the plant and then identifying the one active, most important ingredient, and then making a medicine out of it. It was more of an ongoing dialogue and a dialogue with the wholeness that is the plant in this case. And this wholeness, the name is only a very, very little detail in this wholeness, right? Because we have the plant, and we have all the ingredients and the attributes of this special plant, and then we have the synergy of how this plant works with our bodies, how this plant works with other plants or other elements, how it works in the different seasons, what is its life cycle, what does it need to flourish, how does it die, what happens to it when it dies. It's a whole endless world of details that our mothers and our mothers' mothers knew. They just had it. And then it was lost. It was lost because patriarchy came into being. And patriarchy saw the feminine as a competition. I mean, patriarchy is a competitive culture, so anything that was not going along the lines of this kind of thought was bound to be destroyed. So women were killed, were murdered, their knowledge was pushed away and almost disappeared. It has its ways to come back. And these days we see it really come back from the renewed unity of the women voice, the feminine voice, the indigenous voice, the elders' voice, all the vulnerable people and elements of earth that hold all this wisdom are coming back, coming alive. They're rising up. Sometimes it means even at the risk of their lives, but they're doing it. And I'm privileged enough to have access to some of that wisdom and also have the conditions that I can practice and learn and research and even share without having my life at risk. So in gratitude to that, we will move on and extract some active ingredients, actually not from the oregano, but from the nettles to be in to continue yesterday's class meeting, and also because nettles are still growing in many parts of the world. They're everywhere, and in some parts of the world they will only grow in June even. So it's really like, I think in a lot of places where people are right now, they can find nettles. So we'll go with them, and also they're very beneficial. And the iron supplement that we're going to be making now is a really nice way to strengthen our bodies and our immune systems in times of vulnerability. In general, it's the winter. And of course, when we have an epidemic, then people are being reminded how important it is to keep our body in good health. So actually, it is so simple that it's kind of ridiculous, and so it will not take a long time to make. So remember the nettle tea that we did yesterday? So that's actually an extract. This is extraction in water. The advantage of it is that it's very doable. You take nettles or any other herb. You want oregano extract, like a very fast one. You put it in a jar. You put hot water. You get the extract and you drink it. It's a nice teas. And if we're talking about synergy, it's really nice to experiment every morning. Like every morning, I do a little experiment in a jar. Like I take different herbs and leaves and peels and all kinds of things. I put hot water and I discover a new taste. And it's really nice to also discover that we can make discoveries like that without going to the supermarket, right? We don't need anybody to invent a new taste. We can create it ourselves with good and healthy herbs. So that's like the most simple extract that we can make. One that is a little bit more sophisticated will be with alcohol. You know how in health pharmacies or health stores you have those little bottles with all kinds of extracts, or sometimes they will be called tinctures. It's usually made in alcohol, and usually we can make it at home and very easily. And then we can also make it to our own preferences and needs, and it's really just a very simple thing to do. So I have a bottle here. It's really nice because it has, for the tincture, it's really nice to use a bottle that has a wide opening, so we can put in the leaves and then also take them out later in an easy way. Also, this is a bottle that is from alcohol. There's an alcoholic drink that is sold in this bottle, so I don't even have to clean it. I mean, there was alcohol inside. And now I will take the nettles from yesterday. In some kinds of extracts, we will have to, it is recommended to dry the plant before working with it. In this case, we don't have to because we're going to put it in watery substance. Alcohol is a watery substance. Another way of extracting is extracting into oil, and then the water in the plant doesn't work well with the oil, so it's better to dry it. In this case, as I said, it's really easy. We just take the fresh herb, and now I'll take the nettles and I'll put them in the bottle. Those are the nettles that we picked up yesterday. It's really nice to use them so fast after we picked them. And I'm really putting as much almost as I can fit into the jar. The more I have, the more plant I have, the more it will be concentrated, of course. And again, if the nettles are serious, you can use some kind of a spoon or a wooden tool to just push it in without touching it. I think that's it. And then I can do different things in terms of I'm just going to cover it with alcohol and let it stand for a few weeks before it's ready. This is it, really. This is so, it's funny how simple it is. So for alcohol, you can either go for like buying alcohol in the shop. This is 96% alcohol, so it's like the highest concentration that we can get in a store. We don't need such a concentration for the tincture. Usually 40% is enough. So if that rings a bell, 40% is what's called spirits, right? The whiskey, the tequila. In Israel, arak is very popular. So it's like highly alcoholic drinks are actually perfect for tinctures. So if you have some alcohol like that in the house, that's the time to do something good with it, because really your body doesn't want it. I mean, sometimes it's nice, I know, but it's really, really, really not supporting to the liver and the system in general. So if we want to, it's always like the two parts, right? If we want to keep our health, especially in times like that, on one hand, we need to stop doing the unhealthy things, and on the other, make some medicine and like do like special healthy activities or healthy products. But if we do only that and continue with the unhealthy habits, it's not as effective. I'm sorry. Okay, so we take the alcohol, and what I will do, I will only fill half of the bottle with this 96% alcohol. And then the other half, I'm going to dilute it with any watery substance. So one watery substance that is possible is my nettle tea. Very simple. Right? So this is, I'm now diluting my alcohol with nettle tea. It's nice when we do a tincture to dilute it with something that also brings some active materials. Actually, I wanted to say qualities. It will be nice to make an extract from the olives. We might show it in another, it's a little bit of a different method, and then use the olive extract. Many times in my tinctures I use the olive extract, and then I already am starting to be a witch, right? Because I'm using different herbs and I'm doing it by my intuition. So maybe in different places in the world there's different plants, the season is different, the conditions are different. I have a lot of oregano, in another place there will not be a lot of oregano. This is when intuition comes into play. Like, I give you just ideas and some basic principles, and you can go on with your intuition and try different things that make sense to you. Don't believe your brain, your mind, when it tells you that you don't know anything. That's a lie that was taught to us by the system that we are part of. If you are not completely confident, ask somebody. It doesn't need to be a doctor or someone with a lot of entitlement, like official entitlement. It can be a friend that you trust, your grandmother, someone from your family, maybe the old lady in the neighborhood, or anybody that you think that has intuition, maybe better than you, maybe different than you, and then you put together the wisdom of the people, and you can come up with a good recipe and also a good method to do something that maybe I showed here, and somehow it's not really possible for you, not in the way that I showed it. So yes, experimentation, getting back to our roots, to our intuition, and making our own remedies and supplements as a way to get back to our independence and our resilience. I think that could be very beneficial these days, and I wish you luck. As usually, I'm very open to questions and any comments you might have. The website is finally coming up today, and then there will be more interaction, hopefully, and I'm really waiting to hear from you. So thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much.